Hello, everybody. Good evening. Today I'm here. Last month I wasn't here. Roberto was conducting by himself. So thank you, Roberto, for that.
You're
And
welcome.
I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. All those friends who are online, I see people are coming. Also, Paty Oliveira. Good evening, my dear. Thank you for being here with us. So today is part two of the last month topic, which was the spirit of fluids. So Watanabe will talk about the part number two. And just before we go into our prayer here, I want you to say thank Watanabe for your time. Thank FASP for this partnership, and it's always good count with you guys. Thank you so much.
I thank you, Esteban, for this opportunity.
Good. Okay. Let me do the initial prayer.
All right.
So I'm going to ask everyone to sit comfortably, to raise up your thoughts. Let's make connection with our mentors. Ask them to enlighten ourselves, to look after our problems, our warriors, giving us strength, giving us courage and resilience to face our daily challenges. May the good spirits help Roberto today and guide him in order to use the right words at the right moment. And may this talk reach out to those brothers and sisters who are in need of the word, are in need of the knowledge and the information we're going to share here today. So be it. Amen. Okay. Um, Let me put up the presentation. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's it. Any problems? I'm in the background. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Esteban. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here again to talk about the book Genesis from Allan Kardec. And today we are going to see the second part of this topic, the spiritual fluids. And last month we talked about what are such spiritual fluids. And today we are going to see how uh, such spiritual fluids explains uh, all the spiritual phenomena that was that spirit is provoking, right, in our world. And we will see that the key factor on such a spiritual phenomena is the perispirit, which is our intermediary body or spiritual body, and the fluids themselves. Okay, so let's start here. Today we'll explain then certain spiritist phenomena that used to be reputed as supernatural, and we are going to see that uh, they are natural, right? So they obey to laws of nature, and it's a little bit different laws from what science, well, the academic science or official, let's say, science knows, but they are also laws of nature which uh, are brought to our knowledge by the spiritist science. Let's start by this spirit or psychic sight. Psychic sight, as we know already, is the faculty that some persons have, which we call mediums, to see the spirits, right? The discarnate beings. And as I said, the main factor here is the perispirit, which is the link between the corporeal and spirit life. Corporeal life means us as incarnate beings, right? And spiritual life means the spirits. When we say spirits, we have two ways of understand the word spirit. Right? One way is more restrict. We understand the spirit as those who are in the spiritual realm, right? Who are discarnate people. And in a broad sense, spirit includes ourselves as incarnate because we are always spirits. Right? The only difference is that we have this physical body, and the discarnate beings does not don't have the spiritual but the physical body. They have only the spiritual body or perispirit, and of course we already have it, right. So as we have the perispirit, and then discarnate beings also have the perispirit, so this is also the means, let's say, through the incarnate spirit, we are in continuous relationship with the spirit, as we say, in a strict sense, right? The discarnate beings. And because both of us have this common body, right, which is the perispirit. And also the perispirit is the spirit's sensory organ. Now here spirit in a broad sense, right? It is the spirit sensory organ for either for the discarnate or for us if we are a medium. Right? So uh, that's why Allan Kardec says here that the perispirit is the cause of a spirit or psychic or second sight. There, these three terms are synonyms, right? Spirit sight, psychic sight, or second sight are all the same, and with which mediums are endowed. And by through such a psychic sight, such mediums can see in the waking state, they are awake, uh, spirits, and they also can see other things, which we are going to see. But they see through the eyes of the soul and not through the eyes of the body. They don't see with their physical eyes. Kardec says that, for example, if a medium is seeing a spirit, a discarnate spirit, even if he closes his eyes, he continues to see because he's not seeing with his physical eyes, but with the eyes of the soul. Actually, such eyes of the soul means the perispirit, and they also see beyond the reach of their line of vision, since they read the thought portrayed figuratively in the fluidic ray, Kardec says. It's like we saw last month, right? For example, that issue of the thought photograph, right? When a person is thinking about something, and then that thought is some way photographed around his perispirit, and then a psychic medium can see such a photograph, right? And then he can see the intention for that person. This is something that we saw last month. And the perception of things through the spirit sight or through our perispirit does not occur by means of ordinary light, meaning that, for example, if a medium is watching to a spirit, this kind of spirit, uh, it does he doesn't need any light as we have here, right? But even if he is in total darkness, he can see such a spirit because he's seeing with his uh, spirit sight, and for that purpose, he doesn't need the ordinary light because there is a special light in the spirit world. That's what we learn through the spiritist doctrine. And such light is one of the properties of the ethereal fluid. And also there are no obstacles to spirit sight. It is not limited by distance or opacity of matter, so that the darkness does not exist for such spirit sight. Meaning that, for example, if you are, I'm looking through my spirit sight, if I am let's say, a psychic medium, then a seeing medium, then if I am looking through the spirit side, I can look through a wall, for example, right? What if there is an object beyond that wall, I can see through the wall, and so that means is not limited by the opacity of matter, and also is not limited by distance, because I can be in São Paulo, for example, and can see some fact, let's say, some event that is happening, let's say, in Dublin, right? In that case, what happens that I can disconnect from my body, and then me with my perispirit uh, travels, let's say, to Dublin. Then I see what's happening there in some place, right? And then I can, I'm here, my body is here in São Paulo, and then I can, uh, well, tell what I'm watching, right? We have a famous case with that famous medium from the 18th century, Emanuel Swedenborg, right? He was once in a city of Germany, uh, in a party, and suddenly he stopped and looked to, let's say, looked to nowhere, and then they start to say that Stockholm, which is he was Swedish, right, and the capital of Sweden was in fire. Right? There was a fire there in Stockholm, and he was in Germany. So how could they see that, right? Through the spirit sight, right? That is the explanation. And the spirit sight can provide also the perception of certain physical events. Well, this is the example of Swedenborg that I just gave you, right? So physical events that is occurring far away from the place the psychic person is, right? And the perception of things uh, equally real in the spiritual world, such as being able to see spirits. Right? So the seeing medium can see spirits, and the spirits is not on in our physical world, right? But on the spiritual world. So meaning that the seeing mediums can see events or beings, let's say, from the spiritual world. And also they can see the fantastic images created by the imagination, analogous to the fluidic creations of thought. Right? That's the example of a thought photography that I just gave you. Right? So that's what, in summary, a spirit sight uh, allows the medium to see what is happening on the spiritual world. The spirit is something that is happening there, and also can see something that is occurring in our physical world, but in a distant place from where the medium is. Right. So that's what we can see here. And let's talk a little bit about the dreams. Uh, the spirit seizes every occasion to free itself from its body. The spirit now, let's understand it as we, as incarnate beings, meaning that whenever we are going to sleep, our body stay there upon the bed, right? So resting from the working day. But the spirit uh, does not doesn't have any need to rest. So the spirit in such occasion, which means every night, we as a spirit, with our perispirit, because the spirit is also together with its perispirit, we, let's say, detach it from our physical body, always connected by a ethereal, a fluidic cord, and then we go to the spiritual world, to other places, and look to what is, we are interested in, right? So this is the phenomenon known as emancipation of the soul, and normally it occurs during sleep. But even, for example, you must have had such a kind of experience, even when you are experimenting a snack, for example, right? And then you see that your thought wander, right? Wander elsewhere, because that is the spirit is freeing itself from the body. And then, in that situation, the spirit is, in this case, during sleep, the spirit travels the space and converses with its friends and other spirits also, right? From who are either discarnate or incarnate, meaning that every night when we are going to some place, we, with our spiritual body, right? Our physical body staying there on bed, and then we go, let's say, and meet some friends, and could be a colleague of a working colleague, for example. And then we talk to him or her, and next morning we wake up, and then we have a little was some remembrance, right, of what happened. Then sometimes I just we just remember, well, I I dreamed it with my friend Elsa, for example, right? But we don't remember what was said, right? What was the conversation, and sometimes we remember also the conversation. So that's why upon waking we retain some memory of our pilgrimage, right? And that memory can be a precise or imprecise image of what happened while we are sleeping, right? And then that comprises what we call dreams. And dreams can display two types of visions. Dreams in general mean, for example, I have the let's say normal dreams, which when we are worried about, let's say, some working issue, and then at night we dream with this, that situation, right? So that is the, I'm calling here as normal dream related to daily preoccupation. But we have also what we can call as spiritist or real dreams. Uh, in that situation, for example, when I meet that friend of mine, right, and converse with him or her, right? And then we have the reflexive dreams, which are the dreams where we have some memory from our past, right? For example, what happened in far away in the past, sometimes even in previous lives, right? And but here, Kardec is talking about the dreams that involves visions, right? And then the first one belong to perfected dreams, and the presentiment, for example, warnings, is something related to the future, right? So that's a kind of a dream that Kardec is mentioning here. And also we have the second kind of a dream, which is that one that we can find in one where we can find certain fantastic images created by thought that have a reality for the spirit. And this kind of a dreams is very interesting because sometimes it repercusses upon our body. And there is an example in the Spiritist magazine, which where Kardec described the case of a man who had a dream where he was going through a very dangerous situation, and that was very frightening situation. And then when he woke up, he realized that his hair had turned white, right, under the impression of a dream. So it was just a dream, we say, right? It's like when we have a nightmare, right? We are very well frightened by that situation. Then we wake up and then whoa, was just a nightmare, right? But sometimes it's so strong that it can some impact on our body, which is this case here, right? The hair of that man became white, right, under the impression of the dream. Um, so that's the second type of dreams here. Huh? Why we are talking here about the dreams? Because dreams, in situation of a dream of sleep, the spirit is freeing itself from the body. And when we talk about psychic sight, it's something similar. Why me as a medium, for example, can see a spirit? I, I, I just can see the spirit because in some way I have this faculty of freeing myself, not not completely, but of freeing myself from my physical body, so that I can see, let's say, I can detach a little bit from my physical body, and then I can see with my perispirit instead of my physical eye eyes, right? So that's why we are talking here about sleep and psychic sight. We are going to talk about sonambulism next topics, which is all the situation where the spirit, this incarnate spirit, frees itself in some way from the physical body. Okay, and then we have here this sonambulism case, right? And which is a type of emancipation of the soul also, huh? When we free ourselves from our body. And the emancipation of the souls, therefore, explains also the phenomena of natural and magnetic sonambulism. Natural sonambulism is the one that happens spontaneously, and magnetic sonambulism is the phenomenon which is provoked by the magnetizer, right? Like the case in hypnosis, for example, right? You have the guy who magnetizes the patient and then can control his action, for example. And this is a state of the soul in which the independence of the soul is more complete than in dreams, because in dreams we is always vague, right? What happened, the memory is vague, and in somnambulism we are more in control of the situation. That doesn't mean that we remember, right? When we return from the somnambulic state, uh, normally we don't remember what we did, or what we said, or what we saw. Huh? But uh, uh, when we are in that situation, we are completely free, let's say. And that's why in somnambulism the spirit is in total possession of itself. But the physical organs are in a sort of a cataleptic state. And for example, you 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 certainly have already heard or have saw, right, the kind of a somnambulism guy who he's sleeping on his bed, and then suddenly he leave his body and walk it through the house, and then return to to the bed, and keeping sleeping until next morning, right? So, and then he next day the person does not remember that he 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 left his bed and walked through the house, huh? But in that case, the spirit is independent from the body, but he's controlling his own body. It's like the body was like a kind of a machine, right, which was controlled by the spirit of the own person. And in such state, In some situation, the soul can see inside the human body and describe the cause of illnesses, for example. That's the case of some kind of mediums who, in such a somnambulistic state, can see inside the body of a person, for example, and see, well, you have a problem here in your liver, for example, right? I see there's some kind of a tumor, for example, and then normally, as such a guy is out of his physical body, he can converse with another spirit, let's say a spirit of a doctor, and then such a spirit of a doctor can tell him which kind of medicine would be good to that kind of disease, right? And then such medium can say, well, I see that you have a tumor, and my colleague here is saying that you can take that medicine, for example, right? So that is the situation here, right? This somnambulism doesn't mean, as I said, that when this medium come back to his waking state, uh, doesn't mean that he remember, right, what happened. Normally he doesn't, but what he what he said during the moment when he was in a somnambulistic state, we all can hear, right? And then we can all even follow the prescription that he gave. Let's talk now about healing, right? All of this is also involving perispirituality and involving the spiritual fluids. And in this case here, healings, what we learn is that the universal fluid is condensed on our perispirituality. And such universal fluid, which comprises, well, our perispirituality, uh, it can supply reparatory elements to the body, to a sick body, right? So in such case, the driving agent is the incarnate or discarnate spirit that injects a portion of its fluidic envelope into a deteriorating body. So it's what we call the past, right? Which we have in the spiritist center. And the curative power of um, such a universal fluid that is injected upon into a deteriorating body depends on the purity of the injected substance. The more pure is such substance, the more power it has to cure a illness, right? And the healing occurs by replacing an unhealthy molecule with a healthy one, right? So that's what is happening when we practice such healing, right? And the magnetic action, in the case of healing, can be produced in several ways. We have the situation when the magnetizer's own fluid is injected, right? Is projected into a person body, right? So in this case, we call the human magnetism. We have the second situation where the fluid of the spirit and then a discarnate spirit uh, acts directly and without any intermediary, meaning any medium, and it acts upon an incarnate person, right? And in this case, we have spirit magnetism, which is a discarnate spirit, of course, a good spirit, and trying to help someone which is sick, and direct such healthy fluid, right, to help such person to recover its health. And we also have the mixed magnetism situation where the discarnate spirit, pours out uh, its fluids through the magnetizer. Right? The magnetizer in this case serves as a conductor. For example, when I give in a passive, for example, I'm donating something of my fluid, but a spirit uh, on my side, he can also add his own fluids, which of course is purer than mine, and add to this fluid that I'm projecting, and that will have a, a, a good effect on the person health, right? So that's what we have here about healing. So in this case, you have the spiritual fluid, right, which is involved, and also the perispirit, because if I'm donating some fluid that I have, is from my perispirit. Let's talk now about apparitions, right? So the spirit, I mean the discarnate spirit, in such circumstance can cause its perispirit to undergo a molecular modification, and then it will become visible, right? Well, I said the discarnate spirit, but that can also happen with the incarnate spirit. And this is how apparition is produced, because normally we cannot see a spirit, right? If we are not a seeing medium, we cannot see spirits. But spirit sometimes can change, let's say, it can condense its perispirit in order to become visible to us. So that's the situation where we have such apparitions. For example, suppose that we have a relative who is living well in another country, right? And then such a relative is dying, right? It's in the last moments, and he wants to advise us of his situation. Then he can come to where we are, to the place we are. Of course, he with his spirit, because his body remains there on the another country. Then he can, let's say, undergo such molecular modification or condense its spirit, and then become visible to us. And then we have that, let's say, that vision of a relative, and then we can think, well, something's happening to him, right? Because he just appeared here from nothing, right? And then normally sometime some moments later or some days later, we are advised that that relative passed away, right? And this is how apparition is produced. Uh, like all other phenomena, uh, do not occur outside the laws of nature. Right? So all of these that we are talking about, the spiritual body or perispirit, spiritual fluids, all of these occurs according to the laws of nature. As I said in the beginning, it's not the laws that the official science it still doesn't know, right? But some one day in the future, they also will know. They will discover, right? Let's say, or they will acknowledge the existence of such laws. And such apparitions can be vague and vaporous, right? Uh, we can see only a kind of a cloud, for example, right? That's it. But we can discern if it's a person or whatever is there, right? That we are looking at. Uh, another times, such apparitions can be visible and
Looks like we have a problem with his connection. Let me wait for a few minutes here, okay? Bye. Okay. I give some time for him to rejoin. Okay, well, it's taking more time than usual. Uh, he needs to reboot his laptop. That's why it's taking more time. So keep calm. We're gonna get there. Let me see. So if you guys have any questions about the topic he's he's explaining, please put your comments in the in your message box, and I will try to answer your questions while Watanabe is returning. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, so what I'm gonna say for those who are in Dublin, we will have a meeting this Sunday. So every Sunday we do have a meeting from 11:15 to 1 o'clock ish. However, not this Sunday. The next Sunday, the Sunday before the bank holiday, Sunday, Monday bank holiday, we will not have any meeting. Okay, on the, if I'm not wrong, 27th of October, we will not have any meeting, any personal meeting. Okay, so please send this message along to your friends. If you are in Dublin, make a note that on Sunday, 27th of October, we will not have any meeting. Okay, because the Monday bank holiday. Okay, so also I want to emphasize uh, we do have in our sessions on Sundays the healing group. Uh, the healing group. So once you arrive our spirit center, you go to healing. After healing, we will have the talk, okay, the speech. So what more? Yeah, stay tuned for our the end of the year events, and I know it's been quite fast this year. We say this every year, but looks like we are celebrating Christmas yesterday, and now we are talking about our in the end of the year celebrations. So Roberto is back. Okay,
Well,
we missed you, my friend.
sorry, I don't know, just was out of the internet. Let me just share my presentation. Is that the presentation?
Yeah, he's here.
Okay, okay. So sorry. Let's just see where we were. Here, we were talking about apparition,
Yeah,
right? So,
operations. Yeah,
uh, yeah.
good.
Okay, let's proceed then. So I was saying that in some cases the apparition is vague and vaporous. We cannot discern, right? What is we are looking at. Another times they are more clearly defined. We can see a face, for example, and then we can recognize well the relative, for example, or a friend. And there is another times when the apparition is so clear that have the appearance of a tangible matter, right? So it's like you are seeing a person, right? And but they form instantly and disappear the same way, right? Vanish suddenly, right? And also can form uh, instantly. So, and I mean, what is interesting here is that not only a discarnate spirit, but also an incarnate spirit can, during a moment of freedom, appear in a place different than where its body is lying. So, like the case where I said I gave you, right, of the situation of a relative which lives in another country, then he's dying, then he wants to advise us of his situation. Well, he still is incarnate, right, and he can appear to us, right, as an apparition, right? But we can also have a situation when that relative of a mine has already passed away, but still wants to advise me of his situation. And then after death, he can also show himself to me as an apparition, right? So uh, uh, can be discarnate or incarnate, right? Situation, the apparition. And another interesting thing is that the vaporous or even tangible apparition are not perceived by everyone indiscriminately, right? So meaning that a spirit which you, let's say a discarnate spirit which wants to show itself to us, he can show uh, himself itself uh, when he, and when he wants and to whom they want to show himself, right? So meaning that, for example, I can be here with a friend of mine, and then that spirit show itself to me, and I can see, but my friend here on my side cannot see, right? And because the spirit can have that power, let's say, to do that. And this happens because such kind of a perception is a kind of from my point of view, I am like a medium, right? A seeing medium. And then I'm perceiving that the spirit not with my physical eyes, but with my spirit sight, right? With my perispirit. And then the spirit which wants to show itself to me, he have, let's say, the power to take away by an act of his will the possibility of my friend to see him, right? And he can also give such let's say a spirit sight temporarily to some person, even he if he is not a medium. So that is something interesting also, because in some occasions I'm not a seeing medium, which is really my case, but then the spirit wants to show himself to me, and then he can give me that faculty of allowing me to see him, right? In that specific situation, just in that situation. That's why a person, for example, may have a experience of seeing a spirit once in life in nevermore, right? Because it's a situation like this. So let's talk now about physical manifestation. So you see that we have always in all these kind of phenomena, we have spirit, perispirit, and spiritual fluids involved. And the physical manifestations uh, that happens with the help of the perispirit. Right? That's why Kardec says that it is with the help of its perispirit that that spirits act upon inert matter. Right? Which kind of action they can have on inert matter? Right? They can produce noises, for example. Right? On well, suddenly I hear some kind of a knocking on the table, right? And there is no one there, right? So, and then that was produced by this by the spirit, right? In this case, a discarnate spirit. And also they can move tables and other objects. They can lift, drop, and carry such objects, right? Which is the phenomenon of a moving table, that Kardec started to see there on the middle of the 19th century. From uh, that movement of a table, he extracted all the Spiritist doctrine. Right? And it is also with the help of its perispirit that the spirit enables mediums to write, speak, and draw, right? Because in this case, the spirit involves the medium with his fluids, and then the medium himself, uh, in some way, he detach himself from his physical body and allows the spirit to, let's say, to utilize his own physical body and to write, to speak, and draw. Right? So and then we have kind of a psychography, which is the writing mediums, or the mediums that speak, right? Or the spirit speaks through the mediums, and also a medium, for example, which can painter, right? We can paint uh, some figure, right? And in this case, the spirit borrows the organs of the medium's body, and by means of the fluidic emanation, like I said, right? He involves the medium with his own fluid that he pours out on the medium's body, and then can control the medium body for a moment, right? All of this is just temporary. And then, in the case of a moving table, for example, right, when the table leaves the floor and floats in the air, the spirit does not lift it with its arm, right? Because a spirit does not have an arm, right? So what is what does he do? He envelopes the table and injects the table with a kind of fluidic atmosphere, spiritual fluid, right? That involve the table, and that fluidic atmosphere neutralizes the effect of gravity, as the air does with balloons, for example. Huh? And then the spirit can give impulse to the table by means of a fluidic current, which he projects from himself, right, with the help of his will. And so we have here two steps. First, this kind of spirit involves the table with such a fluid, right, and then that fluid neutralizes the effect of gravity. Then to move the table, the spirit projects from himself his fluids, and then utilizing such fluids like we utilize our hand, for example, he can move the table, right, by his will. And it's not. It's well, it's simple to say, but it's very complex to realize it, huh? To accomplish. And then, when raps, for example, are heard within tables or elsewhere, a door, for example, the spirit is not striking with its hand or the table or the door, because the spirit does not have a hand, right? What he does is to direct a stream of a fluid, right? He projects a stream of fluid to the point where the noise comes from, and this produces the effect of an electric jolt, right? That's why we hear the noise, right? The raps. So here, Kardec is explaining, well, how the spirits manipulate the fluids to provoke such physical manifestation, right? Movement of the tables, or raps upon the table, or upon the door, or window, or wherever, right? So that's the explanation for physical manifestation, always involving fluids. Obsession and possession, right? Now we also have the involvement of fluid, manipulation of fluids. What is obsession, right? We have already studied that when we studied the book of the mediums. Obsession is the persistent action from an evil spirit upon some individual, right? And it can range from a simple mental influence to the complete disruption of the organism and the mental faculties. Meaning that, for example, a simple mental influence is, for example, when I'm here, let's say that I'm here in my studio studying, reading a book, and I'm in a normal situation. And suddenly I start to become sad, for example, right, from nowhere, and well, why I'm sad? I mean, I become sad. There is no reason for that, right? In that situation, can be a kind of a mental influence from an evil spirit, who is, of course, is trying to, uh, in some way, to harm myself, right? And when we have a more complex situation, we have such disruption of the organism, because the evil spirit can involve me with such a pernicious fluids that at the end of the day, that can cause even a disruption in my organism, and then I become sick because of that, right? And or I can become start to have mental problems, right? Mental uh, my I cannot think correctly anymore, for example, right? So that's some of the examples of how an evil spirit can affect me, right? But that kind of situation is always the result of a moral imperfection of myself, right? Of me. And is the moral imperfection that I have that allows the entry to an evil spirit, meaning that uh, we are always, whenever we are affected by an obsession, um, we have some imperfection, right? Where the spirit can, let's say, connect it to ourselves, right? Through that imperfection, through that weak point that we have, right? So that's the importance of guarding ourselves against obsession by strengthening our soul, no? By trying to strengthening our moral, let's say, in terms of morality, right? Morality, and then we can guard ourselves from against obsession. And obsession is nearly always an expression of a vengeance of taken by a spirit. Someone we caused harm in the past, even in this life or in a previous life, and then such a guy is trying to execute his vengeance, right, upon us. And in case of a severe obsession, the obsessed, in this case us, is as if you were enveloped and impregnated with the pernicious fluid from that obsessor, right? That evil spirit. And then how can we resolve that, right? By means of an action identical to that of a healing medium. Well, it's as the evil spirit involved me with such a pernicious fluid, the way to resolve that is to expel such evil fluid and with the aid of a better one, right? So that's happening also on the spiritual center, right? When we receive the pass, right? The pass is we are there receiving a better fluid, which replaces the evil fluid that the spirit involved us, right? That's why we can go to that spirit center very feeling very down, right? Let's say, and then after we receive the pass, we feel much better, right? Because what happened was such a substitute replacement, right, of evil fluid by a better one, and that's why we feel better. And that is not that action only is not sufficient, right, to replace our evil fluid by a better one. It's also necessary to act upon the intelligent being, which means the obsessor, right? whom we must have the right to speak with authority. So that's what we do also on the Spirit Center, right? When a person comes to receive the pass, for example, we give the pass, we donate the fluids, but then we also have a medium who received that spirit, and then we dialogue with that spirit, right? And try to convert him to a good way, let's say, right? To forget the vengeance ideas. But in order to do that, we must have moral authority upon him, right? Because if we don't have moral authority, he will not hear anything we say, right? And the task becomes easier, Kardec says, when the obsessed person bring the concourse of their will and prayer. So the obsessed person must help us in our work and our job by praying, by trying to become a better person, right? Which mean the concourse of his will, and then let's say the goodwill of the obsessed person, the dialogue that we have with the obsessor, this evil spirit, and also the path that we give upon the body of the obsessed person. That all helps, right, to resolve the situation. And in obsession, the spirit acts outwardly with the help of its perispirit, identifying it with that of the incarnate, meaning that in obsession, as I said, the spirit approximates to us and involve us in his pernicious fluid, right? We have the case of possession. It's different because in this case, instead of acting from outside of the obsessed body, the possessor spirit replaces the incarnate one. So it takes control of the body of the person, right? So in this case, the evil spirit in this case, speaks with the mouth of the obsessed person, see through his eyes, act with his arms, just as he would if when he was alive, right? But the possession is always temporary, right? Intermittent, meaning that the spirit cannot take control of a person's body forever, right? So it is always temporary and from time to time, because the spirit cannot permanently take the place of the incarnate one. But what is interesting here also is that possession can be the act of a good spirit, right? Not from an evil spirit. Of course, in this case, with uh, the medium agree with that, right? Agrees with that, and then it's like he borrows the body of the incarnate, and such an incarnate loans his body voluntarily, to the good spirit. So that's well, a totally opposite situation from an obsession, right? Or a possession from an evil spirit. So these are uh, the phenomena that we have to show today and to explain. Well, how how to explain the all the spirited phenomena, how it happens, and proving, let's say, that it obeys to the laws of nature, right? In they are not supernatural phenomena. They are natural. They obey of the laws of nature. Of course, from the point of view of a spirit science, right? Which in one day in the future will also be part of the official science, for sure, right? So that's what I have to bring you today. I just last slide here. Obsession and possession. Normally, we talk about an evil spirit influence a guy, or an individual, right? But there are some cases where the obsession and possession can involve lots of individuals, right? And then such a phenomena becomes epidemic. So whenever a cloud of evil spirits, or many spirits, evil spirits, descends upon a specific location, it is as if a troop of enemy's forces has come to invade such place, right? And then in this case, the number of affected individuals may be considerable, right? So that is this. We have the situation of epidemic obsession or possession. We have many cases which is described on the Spirit magazine, right? So that's what we have to bring you for today. And then, well, just well, we have seen here from the book of Genesis, the last presentation was about the genesis of the universe. Then we second presentation was about the genesis of life. And then we saw the genesis of the spirits, which are ourselves. And now and then we have this last two presentation, right, regarding the spiritual fluids. So actually, all these five representations was about the creation, right? Creation from God. So next presentation, let's talk about the creator, right? Which is God. So that will be the topic of our next presentation next month, right? So that's what I have for today. And I return to Stephen.
Good. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
As usual, a great job in explaining the fluids to everyone. Guys, if you have any questions, please let us know.
I don't know if it was clear because it's a little bit
Oh, we do
complex.
have we do have almost 25 people watching you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for watching.
Yeah. So next month, do we have a date for next month?
Yeah, it's 15. No, 12 of November.
12th of November. Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll talk.
Yeah, Pat said I'm looking forward to our next meeting. Thank you very much. So no question from Patty. Lou
Okay.
VM, it is with us. Good to have you, Lou.
Yeah, they are
Yeah,
always with us.
yeah. So
Today, as we interrupted, I think by 5 to 10 minutes.
yeah, your connection dropped a little bit, but
Yeah,
no worries. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I think we don't have any questions. Uh, can you do our final prayer?
Fine. Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let's thanks all the spiritual benefactors that are always helping support us in our study of this the Spiritist doctrine. Uh, we have see the science part, let's say, of the Spiritism, which is more complex. And with all their support, I hope it was at least a little bit clear about what I represented today. And also, let's thank Jesus for the opportunity to be reunited here together, although through the internet, to let's say study and understand the phenomena that he himself has manifested when he was here 2,000 years ago, because he cured or lots of people. He uh, freed this very many obsessed people from evil spirits, and he also had his apparition after 3 days after his death, and so on and so forth. So we have plenty of manifestation from Jesus' part, you know. And so thank you him for this opportunity to understand his phenomena, and let's also thank God for the opportunity of a life. So be it.
Amen. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Pachi. Thank you, all the others 20, 23 people who's watching us. Thank you very much. We see you on the 12th of November. Thank you.
Right.
Bye
Okay.
bye. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.